Okay, dividing rational expressions now. Check it out. Dividing rational expressions is exactly like multiplying rational expressions with one exception. All we're going to do is we are going to take this second number right here, right, or our second fraction, and we're going to use the reciprocal. In other words, flip it over. So take the 7x, put it on the top. Take the x cubed, put it on the bottom. Change this to a multiply sign, and then we're going to do the same thing that we just got through doing with multiplying rational expressions. So easy. So easy. So here we go. Rule number one, flip it over. So now this guy's starting to look like this right here. 13x to the fourth. Now it looks like this. 13x to the fourth over 7x times, change the divide sign to a multiply sign. Now I'm going to put the 7x on the top, and I'm going to put the x cubed on the bottom. So there we go. I mean, that's it. Now we do the same thing that we did with the multiplying. So step one, factor completely. Factor all four of these guys out. Then number two, eliminate the sameness. The things that look the same, we're going to eliminate those guys. Then we multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. That's it. So if I'm looking at this dude right here, here's a 7x. Guess what? So is that. Bye-bye. The 13 is not going to change. I cannot divide out the 13 with anything. But there's x to the fourth, and there's x cubed, right? So there's 3 x's here and 4 up there. So I just changed that to just 1 now. And in the end, we're left with this, 13x. Man, I wish they all turned out that simple. Obviously, they won't, but we got an idea. So here we go. The second one right here, I'm going to do a couple things at the same time. I'm going to factor the top right here completely already. All right, so it looks like this. 5 times 5 times x times x. And again, guys, I'm doing exactly the same thing with this problem that I did with this problem, but I'm just going to expand it out entirely so that if you didn't see what was taking place right here, now hopefully you will. How do we factor out the 10? That's 5 times 2, and now there's only 1x. Now again, it's a division problem, so the first thing I got to do is change the division sign to multiply and flip this over. So it was 10x. Now it's 5 times 2 times x, because that goes on the top, and then the 5x down here on the bottom. Now guess what we get to do? Eliminate sameness. So check it out. I can eliminate things that are vertical, right, or diagonal. So here we go. There's a 5 right there and a 5 right there. See you guys. Here we go. There's a 5 right here and a 5 over here. See you guys. There's an x right there and an x right there. Take it easy. Here we go. Here's an x right here and an x over here. Keep it real. Here's a 2 there and a 2 there. Smell ya. Now guess what? There's nothing else to eliminate, is there? So across the top, the only thing that we're left with is 5x. And across the bottom, there's nothing, so that equates to 1. This is awesome. We're done. 5x. Beautiful answers right here, right? Again, they're not always going to be this simple, but that's the idea. So here we go. Now we got to make them way harder, right? I know, way harder. Okay, again, I'm dividing. You look for the division sign, so I know I'm going to have to change it to multiply and flip this over. But you still have to factor completely. So factor the top up here. There's only 2 numbers. Must be greatest common factor. So we got 5. Then we have x plus 3. And that's over 3x. Times. Change the divide to times. Now this goes to the top, right? And it becomes 3 times 3 times x. 3 times 3 is 9, times x is 9x, and then we got an x plus 3. Again, now I'm done with the factoring part, so let's get down with the eliminating sameness. Hey, look here, man, inside the parentheses. Again, when 2 numbers are the same inside the parentheses, we got to make sure that we eliminate all of them or none of them. You can't piecemeal this. It's all or nothing. So here's an x plus 3. Looky there, an x plus 3. So those guys are gone. And so are those. Going with the 5. Here's a 5. There's nothing for me to eliminate the 5 with, so that's going to stay the same. Here's a 3. And there's a 3. See you guys. There's an x right here and an x right there. And those guys are eliminated as well. Now there's nothing else to eliminate. So multiply across the top. 5 times 3 is 15. And there's nothing on the bottom. So the result on this one is 15. I like it when they break down like that. All right, the last example that we have right here. This one's as complicated as any of our examples are, but it's a division problem, so I know I'm going to have to change it to multiply. I know I'm going to have to use the reciprocal. But before we get into that, let's even go back to factor completely. So if I want to factor everything that's on the top up here, I'm going to be using the diamond technique. That's right. So when I use diamond technique on this guy, what we should end up with is this. X minus 5 and x minus 3. That's the top factor. Now the bottom right here are just two numbers, and they're not perfect squares, so greatest common factor is coming out. There's an x squared and an x. That's the common factor. So we're left with this, x minus 3 times. Now, I changed the division sign to a multiply sign. The 1 was on the bottom. Now the 1 is on the top. Factor this. The greatest common factor there is 3. And we're left with x minus 5. So there it is, factored completely. Now, let's eliminate sameness. X minus 5 is up here. Again, all or nothing. You can't just take the x. You can't just take the 5. You got to take the x minus 5 all together. And lucky for us, there is another x minus 5 that is diagonal. Therefore, it can go bye-bye. And here's an x minus 3. And look down here. There's an x minus 3, and they are vertical, so those can go bye-bye. There's nothing else that can eliminate on this particular problem. So across the top, we are left with 1. And across the bottom, we have x times 3, which is 3x. So there's the end of division, right? So if you understood multiplication, division just has one extra step, which is change the division sign to a multiply, and take the second fraction that we have right there, flip it over, use the reciprocal, and then get down.